Just a quick note here before we start the interview. I had a few issues with the camera because I was alone at this event, so there's a moment in time where the video cuts out, and I just included some pack openings from some stuff that Riot gave me during the event because I thought that would be at least interesting. And also just the camera quality is pretty poor. It looked fine at the time, but we weren't able to fix it. But hopefully you can still enjoy it. I think it's super informative. Here we go. Hello everyone, and welcome to my interview here with Changrid. We do one of these once a quarter now, I realized.
Yeah,
I think we did one in July of last year, and then again in December, and
Paris.
now here we are in Paris. And now here we are in Vegas.
In Vegas.
At the regionals here.
Yes.
And you just travel to everything now.
I try to go to as many events as I possibly can, yeah.
Well, it's great to see you here. Okay, so when we last spoke,
Yeah.
we were talking about Spirit Forge, which was on its way in the West.
Yes.
It is now officially released. I think it's been out for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
What has the experience been like of releasing your second set?
It's been pretty awesome. I think players have expressed a lot of excitement, enthusiasm in terms of playing in this particular set. Equipment is a pretty big change.
Yeah.
New mechanic in terms of kind of permanent stats that stays on the board, and players are finding new legends. Pretty exciting to play with as well. And it's really great that Draven's not winning everything. So.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask about that because you're in this interesting situation, obviously, where for a while still, I think, things are a little misaligned between the release in China and the release elsewhere. So, and this is the second time where we have seen a singular legend be, you see all these posts where people are like, I'm going to skip this set because it's just all Kai'Sa all the time, all Draven all the time. But it doesn't seem like that's what's happening here. What do you think is the disconnect? Why does it seem like it's always dominating in China and then it falls apart in the West?
So we've had 4 minors in China. Draven won the first 2, and actually the second 2, Draven didn't even make the finals. So
Okay.
we had a Kai'Sa win, and then I think it was I want to say it was like Fiora or Ezreal that won the last one.
Yes.
Yeah. I think what we're seeing is that as the meta evolves, players are learning how to play around Draven. Specifically, he draws because he wins combat. So don't get into combat with him. We obviously saw Alan win last week with Ezreal. I think that's just a great showing of while Draven I think has probably a higher skill floor than some of the other champions. Other legends have higher skill ceilings that can be expressed in the hands of the right pilots.
Yeah, I believe Rumble's starting to show up at this event as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see how things happen. Do you think there's anything going on here where like China's playing a ton and then like the West or the rest of the world, I guess I should say, gets to watch and like start to plot how to deal with it? I know you said that the meta started to shift in the last year anyway.
Yeah,
so.
I think there's also a very interesting with any TCGs, like the winning decks also depends on what other decks are being played, right? And so for example, a lot of Chinese players think Annie was dominant because there weren't as many E players out there in set 1 in the West, and similarly I think they look at Ezreal winning last week and thinks that maybe Kai'Sa's a little underrepresented in Italy, and so I think there's always going to be that types of back and forth and dependencies, and ultimately there is no right answer to any one meta. I think our players are very skilled at finding new ways to allow our champions to express themselves, and I'm excited to see who's going to come out on top this weekend.
Now, every time I have spoken to you, we have talked about product availability. You've now released a second set.
Yes.
How satisfied are you with product availability? Because we were told it would start to get better.
Yes.
So I don't know how satisfied you are with set 2.
I think set 2, based upon everything we see and based upon what we're hearing, has been a lot better than set 1.
Yeah.
Players have been able to get their hands on product. I think obviously certain markets have been better than others, and we're also seeing just and we know for a fact that we've put out more product into the marketplace, right? That being said, the work isn't done yet. There's still a lot of players who are looking for product at more reasonable prices, and we're still going to continue to work towards that.
Interestingly enough, while Set 2 seems very available, we're still seeing Origins be in high demand.
Yes.
As maybe you go to tcgplayer.com and you look at it, and it just says in high demand. So when should we expect more Origins product to be available?
It is being worked on, and once we have more details, we'll communicate with players. But Origins is such a foundational set to Riftbound. Many of the cards, as players are engaging with Spirit Forge, they're also realizing that they need cards from the Origin set, like the seals, for example, right? So, I think we will continue to see a very healthy demand of Origin product, even as future sets release. Once Unleash, Vendetta, Radiance releases later this year.
I'm curious what your plans are for boxes of Origins and Spirit Forge as they relate to the Riot store. I know you all have come up with a new system to release product. We've seen that with some of these sort of. Do you have a proper name for that? The type of product you're releasing?
The lottery system.
There's the lottery system, but also, are they ancillary products? Like, what do you call these things, like the Lunar New Year box and all that?
I guess they're like, gift bundles or things like that. Yeah, I don't know that we have a.
You need some name because it seems like you're going to keep releasing them.
That's a good point.
Special drops.
I'll get the branding team on that one.
Branding team on it.
Yeah. So I think overall, what we saw was there was a huge amount of demand with the Spirit Forge initial launch. A lot of it was also, artificial via bots to try to basically grab as much as they can.
Yeah.
And so we reverted to a lottery system because that tied to account that allowed us to also take our time and filter out the fraudulent orders. And without revealing specific numbers, we did filter out quite a large number of fraudulent orders. And so far the system has been working well, and I think we'll continue to use this system as until kind of supply catches up. Right? Yeah.
Do you think we'll see booster boxes drop on there again, like for Set 1, Set 2?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is yes. As soon as we have more product available, we want to make sure that, especially for players for whom access to a local game store is going to be an issue, like they have another channel, another way to get product. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about something I did. So while if you look online, people think influencers get handed every single product, and Riot is specifically taking boxes from their LGS and giving it to influencers like myself. I did not get access to the Lunar New Year bundle.
Oh.
And so, which is fine, but I did what I assume a lot of people are doing, which is when the signups went up, I signed up, and then I messaged my girlfriend who hasn't played League in forever but has an account to sign up, and I messaged my Magic friends to sign up, and I have not hit it, but both my girlfriend and my Magic friend did. So now I've got 2 boxes coming. Are you worried at all about people using that type of system to do it? Because I know there's no perfect system, very clearly, but I wonder how much it skews your data when everybody's like I watch it, but then there's 4 other people that I've got to sign up so I can get access to it.
So we do monitor a couple of different things. One is, obviously the amount of the number of accounts that do sign up. I think the second thing we also look at is kind of the purchase conversion in terms of, how many folks who actually wins the lottery actually comes through.
Yeah, a lot of people have been getting it a couple days after, so you're obviously seeing people not.
So there are definitely folks who get it and then they decide not to follow through in terms of the purchase for whatever reason, and then we'll make those product available for other folks as well. Yeah.
So okay, but right now this system looks like it's.
I think in a world in which there is no perfect system, this is the best system we have working for now until, again, like I said earlier, we solve the supply issues. I do think down the road, when there is sufficient supply, we do want to make it possible for folks to order more.
Do you think that there will ever be a world, or is there a goal for you to just get to a point in time where there's an evergreen buy button on the website that people could just go and press? Or
I think depends on the product, right?
Okay.
I think for certain products such as Proving Ground or maybe some of our pre-constructed decks, I think there could be a case made that it is evergreen for as long as that particular set is around.
Yeah.
Right. But part of the appeal of TCGs is that that product is available for that particular set, that 3-month window, and then there are new products coming out, and so. With the exception of kind of the foundational sets such as Origins and maybe to a certain extent Spirit Forge, I think as we get to a steady state, I think we'll probably want to basically get into the rhythm of selling that set's product during that set's sales window.
Now that we've started to enter into a point in time where we have a couple sets out, I think there's a lot of discussion around the collectability of the game, certain collectible options. We have the overnumbered cards. Teemo was in packs in set 1 for Nexus Knight packs and all that. There does not appear to be something similar in set 2. Where do you determine where to release these types of more chase cards, collectible stuff, things that go beyond the just basics of playing the game? What is that balance for you?
I think especially the first few sets, the team is we've done quite a bit of experimentation to see what appeals to our player base. And so the set 2 Spirit Forge Overnumbers, them being champion unit cards instead of legends, is actually one of these experiments that we are running. And we hear actually a lot of voices for legends signatures versus champion unit, and we think that there's a lot of valid points to that, and so but a lot of these things you just won't ever know until you kind of show it to the marketplace and to players. For example, another point is a lot of folks had expressed their opinions around the booster alt runes being the same as set 1. And we heard that one loud and clear as well, and are making product adjustments. But I would say overall, as the sets go on, every set beyond set 3 has what I would call increased collectibility. I think I think set 3 will have a very nice surprise. I think for everyone. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are a lot of fans out there who've gotten into this. This is their first TCG.
Yes.
And I go, as somebody who's been playing for a couple of years and kind of aware of how this stuff works, and I see there's a lot of confusion, sometimes misinformation around how a lot of this stuff works. Some people will be like, I can't afford to play this game, the boxes are too expensive. And it's like, okay, well, you don't really buy the box to play the game unless you're playing limited. But when you say, okay, we've looked and we've heard the feedback around runes, for instance, we're going to make changes for that. A lot of people are so used to a digital game where they hotfix that shit overnight and hey, now we're good. You have a significant lead time. Out of curiosity, what are the timelines between when you start to see something releases, you see the feedback in all the different forums and online and social media, and then you go, okay, we want to change this, you hop in a meeting the next day, stuff starts going, and then when that actually gets to a place where people can experience the change?
So in terms of when a set design typically happens about a year in advance, right? So we want to make sure, for example, right now we're already working on sets, 7 and 8, that is well in advance. That's the second and third sets for 2027. And then, once the set is designed, then, we commission the artwork for that particular set. And as I talked about, I think in previous interviews, where Riftbound, it will be leveraging, increasingly high percentage of original art that's specifically drawn for our game versus, existing art from the wider Riot portfolio. And so that also takes, a healthy amount of time. And then finally, it being a physical product means that we gotta, print it and ship it, to places globally. So kind of the final timing to lock the cards design themselves is probably somewhere between 6 to 9 months out from a set release. And so there is a certain point in time which what's done is done, and we take the feedback and we put it in the next possible set
Yes.
that we can fix.
Yeah. One of the other things that I've seen in terms of community confusion and all that stuff, I know that Michael Sherman, who I'm going to interview in a second, a while ago had said something about, I think it was him in a post about, hey, we're trying to like reward stores that do things right. I think you've mentioned this as well. I'll go online sometimes and I'll see people be like, look at this store in Illinois, look at their prices, go fill out the contact form on the UVS website, and Changren will show up at their house with a hammer and deal with them.
I will not show up at their house. Sorry, guys.
But where, like, my understanding previously has been that you are looking to make incentives to reward good behavior versus create punishments to deal with quote unquote bad behavior or less player friendly stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think, we, as much as online we hear a lot about kind of, stores not doing as player friendly things.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the stores are doing what's good for the community, right?
Yeah.
Like I think some of the Reddit threads that I read, like, it's like praising their local game stores that are making product readily available at reasonable prices to players of the game, right? And so I think, well, ultimately, we can't control behavior at the individual store level. I think what we can do is encourage the positive behaviors that we are seeing in what I would say probably most of the stores out there, right? And a lot of it is also, player initiated and driven, right? Like folks who are coming in, yes, there's a shortage in product, but they're bringing their bulk to share with their fellow community, right? I think what has really touched me is reading all the stories of the first time to TCG players who have gone into a game store and they felt so welcomed and they felt like they had a great experience, even though chances are they probably lost a lot of games, right?
Sure,
like, because gamers
they
got
play
a game.
against Kaisa. And, yes.
But they had a good time, and that's what's really important is whether you win or lose, like we have a great time playing the game.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that the stores seem to be overall behaving themselves. Just out of curiosity, and because I'm sure a lot of people will be skeptical, like, how are you able to like track that data, or how are you able to determine that like people are mostly good actors?
I mean, I think so we do get reports, via our partner in UBS in terms of, how like the average price that the stores are selling at and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we lost a little bit of the footage because the card filled up, but I would love for you to say whatever you would like to say to any of the fans out there, especially as we head into set 3, which is in just a couple weeks.
Yeah, so set 3 reveals is just in a couple weeks, like Travis said, and we have a couple of nice surprises for everybody, especially for the collector audience. But I just wanted to really take this moment to thank all of you guys, the players in the community, because without you, we couldn't have possibly made Riftbound as welcoming to especially the new to TCG players. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing, whether that is sharing bulk, being welcoming to players who have never touched a TCG. All the stories that I hear and read and talk to people walking on the floor here in Vegas has been incredibly energizing. So again, just wanted to thank everybody for everything that you do that we may or may not even hear about online.
Thank you so much for the interview. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things Riftbound right here on my Riftbound channel.